Okay, so we are live. Hello and welcome to YouTube channel Health Q, the place where our mission is not only to motivate you but help you to move on to the brighter side of the health. I am your host, physiotherapist Meghna Dave, and welcome back to this Friday series of live webinars that we do where we have our guest lectures and we have experts from different domain of health who come here and share their insights on different topics which will help you and impact you in terms of your quality of life. And today we have with us Dr. Gayatri Suresh, who is an posture expert, I would say. She is a biomechanist and she is a posture expert in healthcare rehab platform. She has helped multiple patients suffering from posture related issues and helped them to correct their posture through her program. So she does a very detailed analysis of posture through her softwares and she comes up with a very detailed report, and basis that report she comes up with an exercise program and help patients to recover or else to work or their posture correction. So welcome Dr. Gayatri. Happy New Year because
Thank
we are
you.
meeting up the New Year for the first time.
Happy New Year
So
to you too.
yes, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
All well, all well. Okay, so so today's topic we have is, should I worry about my posture? There are a lot of misconceptions that exist around posture among people, right? And the
Yes.
idea to organize this webinar in particular is to break those myths that people usually have around posture, right? So I would
Yes.
like to start with the first question of this webinar, and that is, what is posture at first place? How a
Yeah.
layman can understand posture in a very simple terms.
Yeah. So, you all know, the body is not made of one single segment. We've got many joints, we've got many muscles connecting those joints, different joints which have to perform a lot of function together. So, posture is basically the coordinated alignment of all of these. So, if you're standing, the body decides, okay, my head is supposed to be straight, my feet are on the ground, my arms are by the side. So, this coordinated alignment of all the body parts, this is what someone would call posture. The many factors that contribute to this are your sensory system. So, based on what you see, what you hear, what you feel, then your past memory. So, if you stand still in one place, the brain remembers how to stand still in another place, and the constant input being given by the muscles to the nervous system. So, the coordination of all of this to maintain the body in one alignment, whether someone is sitting, standing, is called posture.
Right. So to make this simple for you guys, posture is not only a standing posture, right? So many people relate to posture as something that's related to standing. Even when you are sleeping, you have a posture. Even when you are standing, you have a posture. Even if you are sitting, you have a posture. Or whenever you are in a static position, when you are not moving, you are in just one position, the attitude that your body owns, that is a posture. Now, this posture have a lot of impact in your health and well-being, especially your musculoskeletal health and well-being. So Dr. Gayatri, if you can explain why posture is so important, right,
Mhm.
and why this posture correction can help an individual to not only correct but prevent a lot of musculoskeletal issues.
Yeah. So, one thing I want to say before this is that there is nothing called perfect posture. So, everything that you see about, everybody has to sit straight or everybody has to sleep in this particular way, everybody needs to use a standing desks, those are all myths. In posture, no matter what posture you're doing, there's never going to be zero stress and strain on the body. It's never going to be like if you sit up straight, there is no stress being applied. Each posture has its own stress and strain. So if you sit up completely straight, your low back muscles are going to work extra to keep you straight. Okay? But there will be reduced pressure on your bones of the back. Whereas if you sit little slouched, the muscles don't have to work as much, but the stress gets transferred to the bones. So posture for each person depends on how they want to, or what their goals are with their pain or with their job, basically. So for different people, the different kind of postures are important. So based on whether you want your muscles to be relaxed or your bones to be relaxed, that is when you actually have to see what kind of posture you're maintaining. Or if someone is having pain because of muscles, I will not ask them to, low back muscles specifically, for example, I will not ask them to sit up straight for a while, because if the low back muscles are already hurting and ask them to sit in a posture which will work those muscles more, it's not going to work. Or let's say someone has some issue with their bones. In that case, I will not ask them to slouch and slump. I will ask them to keep a slightly more erect posture so that the stress is shifted from the bones to the muscles. So this clinical decision is what a physiotherapist will do if someone goes to them with any posture related problems, and they'll give a posture based on that person's issues and goals. So it's not going to be like, oh, everyone has to sit up straight. That doesn't work. Yeah.
Right. So again, why it is important then, if that is the case, that one post, it's not necessary that there is not a single type of perfect posture, right? But
Mhm.
still, what is the significance of posture? Why an individual should make sure that he has a good postural alignment in the body maintained
Mhm.
throughout their life? Like, what happens if this posture gets altered or deviated? What kind of problems that can arise?
Yeah. So the time when posture gives problems if it's maintained for a very long time. So sitting for a long time is not, not long time. Sitting is not a bad thing, nor is standing. But if I tell someone sit for 2 hours straight, stand for 5 hours straight, that becomes an issue. When you are just maintaining the position for a long time, this can cause any fatigue where the muscles start getting tired, or it can, because the stress is there, you might put that stress for a long time. So this is why you have to maintain the so-called ideal posture, where for that particular half an hour to 45 minutes, you have to be in that posture. And different postures, because they load differently, it's like you should be able to do certain things. It's like if you are sitting in a particular place, and one day you sit the other way, it should not be like your body is never used to it, therefore you got yourself injured. Or while lifting, if you have a preferred way of lifting, here I'm talking about dynamic posture, not maintaining one single one. Let's say you're used to lifting in a particular way, but next day you lift in an awkward posture. Because your body is never used to that, that might get you injured. So the optimal posture for you is anything that is to be maintained within 30 minutes.
Mhm.
Even if you're using all support to your elbows, to your wrists, to your head, neck, everything, but you maintain that for a long time, that is still detrimental. Or in dynamic postures, if you suddenly do something which your body has not been used to, that again is detrimental. So here's what you see, what is optimal for you. That is what
Got
is optimal posture.
Right. So here I would just like to ask you this, that please give a little information or explanation to the audience. What is
Mhm.
a static posture and dynamic posture, so
Yeah.
that they can understand better?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned in the starting of this video, static posture is any posture that you're maintaining in one position, whether you're sleeping or you're sitting, whether it's for work or eating. You're still sitting in one position. You're not moving around and eating. Yeah. Or if
Right.
like a traffic policeman, they're just standing. So, any posture that you maintain for without moving much is called a static posture.
Hmm.
Dynamic posture is when your body has to be aligned with movement. Like when you're walking, for example, or running or cooking, you're moving around the kitchen, or when you're playing a sport. Like that, also the body doesn't do it randomly. You still need to have very coordinated actions of the body. Like when you're walking, your hands have to move opposite to the legs. So
Hmm.
that coordination while you're moving is called a dynamic posture. So then, if I have to do a posture assessment, I would not only ask you to stand straight or sit straight and do your posture. I will still do a movement analysis to see how your static posture is and how it correlates with what you do dynamically.
All right. Makes sense. So now, since we know, okay, this is what is posture, right? Which all conditions or which are the common problems where there is a huge influence of posture,
Mhm.
right? In terms of, if we have to say prevent or correct this problem, we
Mhm.
have to work on posture correction, or maybe working on modifying posture to certain extent. What kind of conditions a person should look for?
Yeah. So, in conditions, if someone is having a congenital, that is something from birth, if let's say someone has scoliosis or some bone deformity from birth, then how it is going to impact their life? Or if someone develops a condition called ankylosing spondylosis, for example, it starts at around 15. It is a condition in which the spine starts getting stiff. So we have curves in our spine which help us bend forward, bend backward, bend to the side. But with a condition called ankylosing spondylosis, it starts at around 14, 15 years of age, and it makes the spine stiff throughout the years.
Right.
So the person starts losing their ability to bend their spine or do any trunk movements. So in that, posture is definitely important to see how the person is progressing, how
Mhm.
to ensure that the person doesn't end up in a lot of pain because of that.
Mhm.
Or in
Mhm.
case of scoliosis, there are some scoliosis which are there, they don't progress, But there are some scoliosis which keep on getting, like the curves keep on getting
Yes.
more as the person grows. So this is
Right.
another very important condition in which we have to track the posture to see that it's not hampering the person's
Mm-hmm.
lives.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, these are the important things where posture is to be maintained. But if someone has slight rounded shoulders, a little neck tilt, these are things you don't have to worry about. So as long as it's not giving you pain, maybe your body is just built that way. And different people's body are built in different ways. So these minor things you don't need to actually worry about. If a posture
Right.
is such that it is hampering your everyday activity, your breathing, then that is something that people definitely have to consult a physiotherapist for.
Right. Right. Now, coming to a working professional,
Mhm.
many people start working with a very good posture. And hunchback is something, or is the rounded shoulder is something that usually develops
Mhm.
among them, right? Because they're
Mhm.
constantly working in front of laptops and desktops. And eventually, over a period of time, they start experiencing not pain, but discomfort, a
Mhm.
sense of tiredness, tightness around the neck, upper back, and lower back region.
Mhm.
So, what, according to you, will be a sign of caution for them? And what would be the time where they should think, okay, this is something which is worrisome and I should see a doctor or else a physiotherapist? What would be those red signals?
Yeah. So one thing, the body doesn't change very easily. So if someone starts feeling tightness or little weakness, that is usually a case of the nervous system feeling that way, not necessarily that the muscles are tight. So many people, like, they come to me and they said, "Oh, I'm working in a desk job. My neck feels very tight." But when I actually ask them to move their neck, they have enough movement in their neck. So that
Okay.
feeling of tightness is only because you're training your nervous system that, oh, this is my movement, I cannot move beyond it. But
Okay.
if you start taking breaks every 30 to 45 minutes, like if someone is in a desk job, they go, they move around, neck up and down, walk around, just do some trunk rotations and bending, extending, then you're giving the brain some signals that, okay, this much movement is okay for me, even though I'm sitting for a long time. So when posture starts affecting desk job individuals is when they're ignoring these signals. Of even though, like, even if you're sitting for 2 hours continuously, there are some signs of discomfort. Your legs
Hmm.
start getting a little numb from that constant pressure. But if you
Right.
choose to ignore this discomfort, then this may add up into
Right.
some pain or discomfort, like I said, some extra
Hmm.
muscle activity or some increased stress to the ligaments and the bones. So it's just simple. Even if you're in a desk job, even if you're in a sedentary job, just get up and move every 30 to 45 minutes. It's just for 5 minutes. I'm not even saying like take a half an hour break for every 45 minutes of working.
Hmm.
Take a five
Right.
minute break for every 45 minutes of working. That should be
Right.
enough.
Right, makes sense. And let's talk about children here because many
Mhm.
mothers these days are worried
Yeah.
about their children because they carry huge backpacks, heavy
Mhm.
backpacks, using laptops and desktops very frequent, like for a very long period of time. They have habits of playing games on phone, so they are
Mhm.
also seeing and change in terms of
Mhm.
their postural habits, right? Which
Mhm.
eventually leads to pain in a very early age, early signs like
Mhm.
somewhere around 14, 15 children start experiencing lower back pain, upper
Mhm.
back pain, and stuff like that. So, what
Mhm.
are the consideration from a postural point of view
Mhm.
that they should see as in red flags and should again
Mhm.
come to a physiotherapist?
Yeah. The thing with children and adults is that children's bodies are still developing. Like what I said before for adults is because the body has already developed. It's hard to
Hmm.
give adults a hunchback because the
Hmm.
bones are already developed, they're not going to
Hmm.
change that fast. But
Right.
with children, because the bones are ever developing, you want to give the body enough stimulus to do different activities. So
Hmm.
even though like the sitting posture is not going to change the child permanently, but you might see that their muscles are not getting used to the other movements. So the
Hmm.
problem there would be that, like I said, if you suddenly load the body into another thing, if you make the
Hmm.
body do something it has never done before,
Hmm.
that is
Hmm.
going to give few issues. So with
Hmm.
children, definitely they have to be, the rough games that they do, the trees or playing sports, that definitely has to be introduced to all children,
Hmm. Hmm.
irrespective of whether they use the iPad or not. And about school bags, try to see those kind of bags which are like laptop bags, because some bags are designed to take more weight than the others. And
Hmm.
also the strap has to be pulled as far up as possible, so
Hmm.
the curve of the bag, it has to align with the neck.
Nick.
So the more close the load is to the body, it reduces the effects on the body. Like even if as adults, if we hold something heavy with our arms straight, it's going to be heavy. It's going to be hard for us to hold it. Rather, if you hold
Right.
something heavy close. Same applies
Right.
with children. Definitely, a school
Mm,
bag issue is like it's a major
mm,
problem. But
correct.
the things you can do for the children is find bags. Like laptop bags are bags which reduce the weight overall, and then
Mhm.
pull the strap to keep the weight as close to the body. So there are some
Right.
children whose bag hangs way down. So yeah, they
Right.
can avoid that. And other than
Right.
that, children can be encouraged to play, to
Mm.
socialize, and to do all kind of sports that they like.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Now, coming to another group of people who are more aesthetically conscious, right?
Mhm.
This would be more youngsters, teenagers, and people who are in media industry or who are in the industry where they are like doing modeling or acting and stuff
Mhm.
like that. They have to be very conscious about their posture, and sometimes
Correct.
that backfires on them. Small deviations in their posture makes them worry, uh, is the reason for the loss of their self confidence, right?
Mhm.
And it impacts their overall well being. And we also get people coming to us who are preparing for modeling and who are preparing
Mhm.
for walking on ramps, and they want a very strong, attractive posture, right?
Mhm.
So they have an altogether different set of idea about their posture, right?
Mhm.
So what are the consideration how a physiotherapist can help them when they have these kind of expectations?
Right. So one is to see if they have anything that is significantly altering their posture. For example,
Mhm,
if someone has uneven legs, that is
mhm,
going to cause any hip getting up or hip getting
mhm,
down. Or if they significantly have one side that looks bulkier than the other side because they're using that side a lot, it's something we have to work on. But let's say the person comes to us with no such features that hampers their posture. But in the modeling industry, they need everything to be symmetrical, to be equal. In that cases, we may give exercise changes to work one side of the body little more than the other. To, for
mhm,
example, if you work with your right side more, your right side
mhm,
is going to be a little more bulky than your left side. The
mhm,
shoulder is going to be a little down as compared to left
mhm,
side.
mhm,
So if
mhm,
we can try to even out these forces by
mhm,
making the left side, training the left side a little more than the right side so that it
mhm,
compensates. Then for
mhm,
modeling
mhm.
people, where the posture is a major consideration for the thing, then such
Right.
cues can be given. And like I said, posture is mostly tricking the brain. If the
Mhm,
brain thinks that I can maintain this, then the
mhm,
posture is maintained. So if like giving some little cues, if someone has a very forward hip,
mhm.
to just give a cue like tuck your uh, hip back.
Abdominal.
So
Okay, hip back.
as people practice this, it becomes an ingrained habit. So initially,
Okay.
it might cause some discomfort, but then
Mhm,
as people practice it, it becomes a very habitual thing for them.
mhm.
But
Okay.
again, they should remember not to overdo it because otherwise
Mhm.
it can again start causing discomfort. So
Right.
train the symmetry in that way that it starts become habitual for the person and gives the final results.
All right. And now let's move on to the another set of people. People with
Mhm.
chronic postural deviation. Maybe the posture was not an issue, but that
Mhm.
postural problem has led to a lot of imbalance related challenges where there is a set
Mhm.
of group of muscles which are very tight, a set of group of muscles which are very weak, and leading to postural changes now. So it was the
Mhm.
not the posture that is caused, but the problem itself is now bringing change in the posture and is eventually leading to repeated episodes of pain. So,
Mhm.
what are the consideration that we can keep in mind while helping these people?
Yeah. So most of the time, posture is a consequence of something that's happened in the body, not a
Right.
cause of something that's happening. Because
Mhm,
mentioned before, posture doesn't really cause pain unless it's maintained for a long time. But most of the times, any postural deviations, like if there's a flat foot happening, or if the
mhm,
trunk is shifting to one side, or someone is just preferring to slouch rather than sit straight, then we have to
mhm,
see what structures in the body are painful, causing
mhm,
people to be avoidant of certain postures,
mhm,
because that's the case most of the time. For example, like I mentioned earlier, a slouch position will reduce the strain on the muscles, the back
mhm,
muscle, whereas
mhm,
sitting straight will put strain on the back muscles. So, is there any muscular pain that the patient is having in their back? I will want to
mhm,
address that rather than
mhm,
saying, oh, if the person is slouching, just make the person sit straight. So, with people like this, you see the initial cause,
mhm,
you see how you can work around that pain. So
mhm,
ideally, again, I don't want the patient to slump for a long time. Slumping is giving a temporary relief, but then it might end up becoming a fatigue aspect for the
mhm.
other structure. So I'll
Right.
initially start making them into a flat back posture rather than upright. So instead of a
Mhm,
slumping, just start reducing that curve a bit. and then get the person, retrain the brain that okay, it's okay to get into those painful movements. Or in cases of the foot or the knee, if there are any particular movements which are making the person avoid some postures, work on that range, get the full movement back, then stretch the muscles if they are feeling tight, and then get them back to the activity. Like, take all of this rehab and get them back to the activity. So that's what I would
Right.
deal with people coming with posture related problem. See the cause of it, start treating the root cause,
Mm-hmm.
then give them suggestions to get back to the activity they were doing, because it's very unrealistic to tell patients, okay, stop doing this. You can't tell like a cricketer that okay, because your knee is little bent this way, you have to stop playing cricket, because that's very
Mm-hmm.
unrealistic. Or let's say a
Correct.
housewife who has to cook all day or take care of the
Right.
house all day. It's very unrealistic. You can't just say stop everything,
Mm.
because they can't. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so see strategies around their thing. So it's not never going to be a very generic advice. It has to
Mm-hmm.
be tailor made to each person. So flat foot may be helping one runner, but flat foot may be causing pain in a housewife, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we have
Right.
to see if the posture has to be addressed or any
Mm-hmm.
strengthening exercises have to be given.
Right. Makes sense. And now this takes me to the next question. So you mentioned a lot of time that it's the brain tricking that needs to be done, because it's
Mm,
the most of the problem is starting from the brain perceiving the body in a wrong way and
mm,
reacting to it, right? So if
mm,
we have to trick this brain and
mm.
come, or else to retrain the posture to come back to the alignment, what are the methods that we usually use or you usually use to trick this brain and rework from a neural aspect or neural
Yeah.
standpoint?
So I'll give the example with someone sustaining an injury. So let's say someone is playing a sport and they injured their ankle. So their ankle suddenly went down and out, and their like the ankle has gotten sprained. Okay, so initially they will not be able to sit on the floor cross-legged. Okay, they will not be able to take complete weight on that foot. So if you see someone like this walking, you might see that the hip is slightly up
Hmm.
because they're not allowing the weight to come on that foot. They will
Correct.
not be able to kneel and sit down, or let's say in some cases using an Indian washroom. All these become painful, and the brain itself will tell the person, okay, stop doing these activities. Like even if they want to do any of these activities, they can't because the pain will be too much. Now with the minimum time for this healing or the pain to come down is 1 to 2 weeks. For 2 whole weeks, the body has not been doing that activity. Okay, so the brain starts thinking, oh, I should not do this anymore because this is a painful thing for me. And then the injured part heals. But the brain has already perceived that movement to be painful. So even after healing, the brain thinks that, okay, this movement is painful, I should not do it. And that develops into chronic pain, which makes people think that, oh, my posture is causing my pain. So in that case, we would start with initiating little movement back. Like if the foot is was painful with downward movement and it is still painful with downward movement after the injury, I would start with this much movement. Okay, just go in that range. Just train the body that this is not a painful movement. Then once people start doing that, then go further down and then go further down till it took 2 weeks for your brain to learn that it's a painful movement. It'll take another 2 weeks to learn that it's not. And then I
Right.
start, so with patients, I start with telling them about their body because many people come to me with MRI reports and I ask them, do you know what your MRI means? And they said, no, I don't know. Just the doctor said that this is painful, go for a surgery. So
Yeah.
the first thing that I've seen helped a lot of patients is to explain the report to them,
Right.
explain what structures there are, what the doctor told them has been painful, why it could have been painful, and if that pain is what is being caused by that structure. So
Mm-hmm.
educating the patient about their own body part. If I feel like okay, the healing has happened, there are no signs that the initial injury was there, then I assure the patients that okay, this is not the cause of your pain anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have any signs that your discs, the back discs or the foot ligament is the cause of the pain. So now what we can work is we can get you back to your movement.
Okay.
Sometimes all we need to do is give the patients permission to just move again because they're just guarding it so tightly, thinking that something is wrong. So this would be the step.
Right.
Contrary, if there is an issue in their MRI, X-ray, or any clinical signs, then we have to work on solving that issue first.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot get them back to their movements as fast.
Right. Makes sense. And how about a very extreme painful situation, an acute condition?
Mhm.
Even in that case, it's very difficult for a patient to calm himself down, that
Mm-hmm.
this pain is a very temporary pain, a very acute pain, and they are guarding it so much that it
Mm-hmm.
impacts their breathing, it impacts their ability to do a very small minute basic movements. So
Mm-hmm.
what is your take on helping these people
Yeah.
going through these painful challenges?
So, in case of acute pain, like in chronic pain, at least people have been experiencing the pain for a long time. They're getting used to it. But in
Hmm.
acute pain, people don't know what has happened to them. Like, suddenly, why
Okay.
is everything painful?
Yeah.
So, for everyone who's listening to this live, I just want to tell you that if you have acute pain, you don't have to do anything for 2 weeks. Those 1 or 2 weeks are for you to rest, for you to
Hmm.
just calm down for a bit of all your activities. If you're having any stressful activities, just calm down for a bit. And after 2 weeks, if the pain is still remaining, then you start seeking treatment. Because in the first 2 weeks, no matter what stretching I give you, no matter what strengthening I give you, whatever massage I give you, it's not going to help, because the
Okay.
body has to heal that painful part. But if someone is too scared about it, then we have to counsel them a lot, saying that this pain is
Mhm.
okay, it is staying for 2 weeks, it will go after 2 weeks. And we can temporarily give something with like ice pack or hot pack, depending on the patient, any electrical currents, to temporarily reduce the sensation of pain. If the pain is too much, we can also take the help of some painkiller temporarily. Again, the
Right.
patient should not be made to feel like, oh, this is a lifetime thing and they have to be on painkillers for a long time. So any
Right.
aid that we can have to temporarily reduce the pain, we can do it in the acute stages. Within 2 weeks it should go. If it doesn't, then we have to start thinking of strategies of why it's not going and how we can help.
So I would like to also put a very important light on this very hot topic these days, and that is
Mm-hmm.
neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
So neuroplasticity has a very important role when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to pain, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
a downside of the neuroplasticity, why we feel more pain as our pain
Right.
gets chronic, right? So
Yeah.
what is your take on using those neuroplasticity principles to
Mm-hmm.
reverse this pain and the postural changes?
Yeah. So I think most of the people in this live are patients. I'll just give a brief
Correct.
interview of neuroplasticity is.
Right.
So neuroplasticity is all to do with the brain again. I'm talking about that only today. So it is when you're training in such a way that there are new neurons or new cells developed to do that function. Usually, this is done for neurological patients who have paralysis, where if we train the other parts which are not paralyzed, the brain starts forming new cell functions for them to be able to get, like, do whatever they can with that paralysis. I think this can definitely be used in pain management also, because in a way we are training the brain to perceive painful and non-painful movements differently.
Right.
So we are training the painful part back in a way so that the perception of pain changes. So neuroplasticity, again, if it has taken 2-3 weeks for chronic pain to develop, just understand it is going to take 1 or 2 weeks more for that pain to go away. So people come to physiotherapy expecting a very quick thing to their pain. But if you're coming to physiotherapy, understand it will definitely work, but it is going to take some amount of time. You need to give time for the brain. The amount of time it has taken to recognize the injury, you need to give it that much time for it to recognize healing. So
True.
that's how I incorporate neuroplasticity with the patients. I'm going to give, it's a very clear communication that it is going to take so this much time. You are going to have to do this much work. And then we'll have regular follow ups to see how you're doing and to see if
Right.
anything can be changed or modified and things like that.
Right, right. That's so helpful and uh, insightful as well. So, okay, so I think we have covered most of the questions that we had got. So, on the parting ways, I would like you, I'll request you to share some quick 5 to 6 tips that
Mhm.
any individual should follow as their to-do guide or mantra to make sure that they are active, mobile, and their posture is maintained well.
Yeah. One thing, no matter what profession you are, or even if you're not in any profession and you're sitting at home, you don't do anything for a long time. Anything for a long time, I mean 45 minutes, maximum 1 hour. Every 1 hour, just do something different, even if it's for 5 to 10 minutes. Second, definitely incorporate exercise every single day. Exercise of any choice. If you like gym, fine. If you like sports, fine. If you like yoga, whatever it is, but 1 hour of minimum exercise or even half an hour of minimum exercise every day. Because I was just reading a new paper the other day. It said that people who are sitting for a very long time and they exercise for 1 hour, that 1 hour of exercise, it's not going to be as positive for the body if you are otherwise not sedentary.
Hmm.
So for someone who's not sedentary and doing 1 hour of exercise, and for someone who's sedentary and doing 1 hour of exercise, exercise is still not going to give a lot of benefit to someone who's very sedentary.
Right.
So even in your job, try to get up, move every 45 minutes. It's really not that hard. Even you would feel relaxed. Third,
True.
do not be scared of any movement. So
Hmm.
people say that, oh, don't lift a bucket of water by bending. Or if someone has to lift the child from the floor, they're told to squat and lift. Don't be afraid of any movement. No movement is bad for you, whether it's bending down, looking up, and all that.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
just have to ensure that your body is used to the movement. So
Hmm.
if you've never bent down and one day suddenly you have to bend down, then that is injurious. And
Right.
just ensure that if you have a lot of other physical and emotional stressors, that can be a cause of pain. So if you're having a lot of stress at work, a lot of stress at home, that definitely and lack of sleep, lack of proper nutrition. These factors play a huge role in pain. It's not just posture. Ensure that
Right.
all of these slowly you're getting into a discipline or a routine. So
Right.
that's it. It's
Right.
like move around, move a lot, sleep well,
Hmm.
eat well, and keep on taking breaks. And no matter what you do, not just a sitting job, even a standing job. Yeah.
Correct, correct. Makes sense. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Gayatri. This was so
Thank you
helpful.
for having me.
We were people who are literally having so many misconceptions around
Mhm.
posture, right? And I would like to tell to everyone watching this live stream right now that posture can be very easily managed, even though it is a chronic one, if right steps are taken at the right time and under right guidance. Most of the time, as Dr. Gayatri also said, postural disalignment mostly comes from your mental patterns that you develop over a period of time, right? So your mental patterns, every pain episode leaves a negative memory in your head, and that negative memory does a lot of guarding for you, and this guarding becomes chronic and leads to change in your postural pattern. So if we have to reverse this pattern, rather than making sure you sit erect or correct your posture, try to work reverse. Start working from your brain and take care of your mental health very much, because that's where your emotions also impact your postural alignment. The time when you will be depressed, you will be slouched, you will be down. But at the time when you are happy, when you're confident, automatically your posture becomes straight and it becomes good, right? So it's a combination of your mental well-being and at the same time how you perceive your body. So work towards it. And if you want any further help from us related to your posture, or else if you have got any questions as well for your postural issues, feel free to reach out to us. You can comment in the comment section, or else you can DM us on Instagram, or else you can write us an email at info@healthqrehab.com, or directly visit our website and book a consultation with Dr. Gayatri, because she is a posture expert. So, on that note, I'll end the session here. Thank you, Dr. Gayatri, for having us. Bringing us here, joining us,
Yeah,
and
thank you for having me.
looking forward for more such conversations. Thank you.
Definitely. Yeah.